Good day. So in this lesson, we are going to look at how to solve sine of x plus half in brackets based on exponents of 2 cos x minus 1, which is equal to 1. So in my previous shorts, I posted a question on this. If anyone can solve, I asked people to drop it in the comment section. So drop your answers. So if you know what the sorts, please go back and watch the sorts and drop your answers in the comment section. Okay. So we have sine x plus half, so an exponent of 2 cos x minus 1 is equal to 1. Now someone might ask, how do we solve this? Now we use this. We know that any number, so an exponent of 0 is 1. So even a variable a to the power 0 is equal to 1. We know that 1000 to the power 0 is equal to 1. We know that a million to the power of what? 0 is equal to 1. 1 to the power of 0 is also equal to 1. You know all these things. Okay. So we're going to use that concept here. So we take it, we are raising the exponents of this one here to 0. So let's rewrite our question. So we have sine x plus half all to an exponent of 2 cos x minus 1 is equal to 1 to an exponent of 0. Okay. So now we are going to what? Equate them. Right? So we are going to what? Equate them. So we are taking that they are the same. So this 2 cos x minus 1 is equal to the 0. So 2 cosine of x minus 1 is equal to 0. And this sine of x plus half is equal to 1. So sine of x plus half is equal to 1. It's equal to what? 1. Okay. So it's equal to 1. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to what? Solve them. We are going to what? Solve them. So with the first one, we are dealing with the 2 cos x minus 1 is equal to 0. So we are going to get, so 2 cos x minus 1 is equal to 0. Right? So this 2 cos x is equal to 1. So divide both sides by 2. Divide both sides by 2. Right? So we get cosine of x is equal to what? Half. Cosine of x is equal to half, as you can see. Now, looking at the sine x plus half, so we have sine of x plus half is equal to 1. So we make sine x a subject. So sine of x is equal to 1 minus what? Half. You know that 1 minus half is the same as what? A half. So we also have that what? Sine of what? X is equal to what? Half. It's equal to what? Half. Okay. So now mostly if you are giving this type of question, you are giving an interval to solving. You are giving an interval to solving. But to give you a deeper understanding about what to actually do here, I'm going to give you up to 360 degrees. So we are looking at from, so we are looking at answers in radians. So we are looking at in the interval 0 degrees less than x less than 2 pi. So in the interval 0 less than what? X less than 2 pi. We are taking everything. Now we are going to what? Look for this particular what? Answers. We are going to do what? Look for this particular answers from what? 0 to what? 2 pi. From 0 to what? 2 pi. Now, after this particular lesson, for my next set of videos I'm going to deliver, there's a particular thing called the unit circle. The unit circle. Now, most students don't know this unit circle. Now, this unit circle can actually help you with your trigonometric. That's the trig angles. It can help you with your trig angles easily. This unit circle can help your trig angles easily. So please follow and subscribe so that in my next set of videos that I'll deliver, I'm going to deliver every detail about the unit circle. Every detail about the unit circle. Now let's continue. So let's take that we don't know how to use the unit circle. We don't know how to use the unit circle. So let's go the normal way. So we are going to go the normal way. Now you have cosine of x equals to half. Sine of x equals to half. Now if you take those acute angles, that is from 0 less than x less than pi on 2. If you take these acute angles, we are going to find the angles that we get if cos x equals half and the angles that we get if sine x equals half. Then we will also take from the we take the obtuse angle, so pi on 2 less than x less than pi. Then we're also going to take another set of angles. So this particular set of angles, we are going to take them from pi less than x and from the pi less than x less than 3 pi on 2. The 3 pi on 2 represents 270 degrees. 270 degrees. Then you then pick from our last set, that's the 3 pi on 2 less than x less than 2 pi. So this 2 pi is what? 360 degrees. So each pi stands for 180 degrees. So pi, so 180 degrees. Okay, now let's continue. Now the first part so we are looking at the first part using 0 less than x less than pi over 2. Now this part is actually the part that people find it easy to do. Yes, they find it easy to do. So now I know that if cos x is equal to half, so we are looking at from 0 less than x less than pi over 2. That is, if you take your unit circle, if you take that, the cos, the sine, those ones that contain the cos, the sine, you are looking at from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. Better still, you're looking at 0 degrees to 90 degrees. Okay, so now if cos x equals half, we all know that if cos x equals half, then which means that x, so for cos x equals half, we know that our x is equal to pi on 3 radians. So our x is equal to pi on what? 3 3. Our x is equal to what? Pi on 3. Then this pi on 3 is the same as 60 degrees. So if you are actually getting confused, this pi on 3 is the same as what? 60 degrees. And earlier on I told that pi is the same as what? 180 degrees. So you can see x is equal to pi on 3. The pi is 180. So if I divide 180 by 3, you can see that I get 60 degrees. Is that okay? Okay. So now we look at in terms of sine x, which is equal to half. So in terms of sine x, which is equal to what? Half. We're going to look at that one. So in terms of sine x, which is equal to what? Half. Sine x is equal to what? Half. Now you know that if sine x, we're looking at 0 less than x less than pi on 2. 0 less than x less than pi on 2. So if sine x equals to what? Half. So sine x is equal to half. You know that automatically x is equal to pi on 6, which is the same as 30 degrees. 30 what? Degrees. Now there's a very special thing about cosine and sine. That is, we all know that the cosine of 90 minus x is equal to sine of what? X. Better still, you can see that 60 degrees plus 30 degrees adds up to give us what? 90 degrees. So better still, you can take like that. So there's 60 degrees. So the side of the angle produced by the sine, the angle produced when solved, the sine is solved, plus the angle produced when the cos is solved, together gives us 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Okay, now let's take the next range. So for our next range, we are taking pi on 2 less than x less than pi. Less than x less than pi. Now we all know that we have various quadrants, right? Now we know that for the first quadrant, all the three functions there are what? Positive. Now for the second quadrant, we know that it's only sine that is what? Positive. But rather cos is what? Negative. Cos is what? Negative. Cos is what? Negative. So hence, in this particular quadrant, since cos x is half and sine x is also half, in this particular quadrant, we're not going to obtain any value of what? Cos here. Any value of what? Cos. We're not going to obtain any value of what? Cos in this particular what? Quadrant. In this particular what? Quadrant. Okay. So now if you check in this particular quadrant, we will know that. So there's a way to check and compare this angle to look for your answer. So it's simply 180 degrees minus the answer that the 30 degrees. So sine x, which is equal to half in the second quadrant, has an angle of pi minus pi over 6. So it has an angle of what? Pi minus pi over 6. Pi minus pi over 6. So now you want to obtain the value of pi minus pi over 6. So this value is 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6. This is the value. 5 pi over 6. If you actually don't get how it was done, subscribe and follow, because in the next lesson, as I said, I'll be treating unit circle and some basic tricks and the trig angles too. I'm going to treat them. So if you don't understand, follow. I'll make it simple there. Simple there. Okay, so now you know that at this particular interval we can't find our cos. So let's move on to our third one. Let's move on to our third interval. So the third interval is from pi less than x less than 3 pi over 2. Less than 3 pi over 2. Okay, so now this quadrant is actually where tan x is positive. Where tan x is what? Positive. And both cos x and sine x are both negative. Are both what? Negative. Are both what? Negative. So you can see. So which means that in this particular quadrant, we won't be able to find any value of what? We won't be able to what? Find any value of what? Cos x, any value of the angle of what? The cos x, or the value of the what? The sine x. Is that okay? Are you okay? Okay. So now we are seeing that what? We can't find the value of what? The angles here, because both of them are negative. They are negative. So this quadrant, we are skipping this quadrant. Now off to our last quadrant. Now in our last quadrant, we are looking at 3 pi on 2, that's 270 degrees, less than x less than 2 pi, that's 360 degrees. Now in this quadrant, cos is what? Cos x is positive, whereby sine x is what? Negative. Which means that in this particular quadrant, we are not going to obtain any value for the what? The sine x, because all the values for sine x in this particular quadrant are what? Negative. So we are just going to look for a value for what? The cos of what? X. The cos of what? X. The cos of what? X. Okay. So now how do we look for that particular value and be sure if that particular value is actually correct? How do we actually do that? Okay, so we're looking at what? 3 pi on 2 less than x less than 2 pi. Then positive cosine of x. We know that in this particular quadrant, the cosine of x is positive and the sine of x is what? Negative. Sine of x is what? Negative. Okay. So now what you're actually going to do here is that you're going to find the value of the what? The angle in radians in this particular what? Quadrant. Now from our first quadrant, we know that what? When cosine of x is equal to half. When cosine of x is equal to half, then we have x is equal to pi on 3. And this pi on 3 is the same as 60 degrees. We know that. So to find the angle in radians from this is simply 2 pi minus the pi on 3. 2 pi minus the pi on what? 3. Now, when you simplify this particular thing, we're going to arrive at 5 pi on 3. So which means that the angle of what? Of x in the what? For the cosine in this particular fourth quadrant. In this particular fourth quadrant is 5 pi on what? 3. 5 pi on 3. So now you can see that we obtain two answers for both the what? Using the four quadrants, we obtain two answers for both what? The sine and both what? The cos. So let's see them. So in the first quadrant, we obtained pi on 3 for the cos, pi on 6 for the sine. Now in the second quadrant, for the cos, we know that the cos was what? We didn't get a value because the cos is negative there. But for the sine, we had what? A value. That was what? 5 pi on what? 6. Now you move to the third quadrant. In the third quadrant, we didn't get any values because both of them are what? Negative. So now you move to the what? The last quadrant that we're looking at, so the fourth quadrant. And you could see we had only what? Cos x. The value for the x in the cos x was half, which was 5 pi on 3. 5 pi on 3. But we didn't get that for the what? Sine x, because sine x is what? Sine x is what? Negative. Okay. So now, so the solutions for the question given, that is sine x plus half 2 and exponents of 2 cos x minus 1, all this equals 1 are, the solutions are x is equal to pi on 3 radians, or pi on 6 radians, or 5 pi on 6 radians, or 5 pi on 3 radians. Giving the interval, so giving the interval 0 less than x less than 2 pi, 0 less than x less than 2 pi. So note, we look at the interval before what we actually solve. We actually what? So if we were giving 0 up to pi on 2, these will be your answers, this won't be part. If we're giving 0 up to pi, the 3 will be your answers, this won't be part. And also take note, if we're giving 3 pi on 2 up to 2 pi, this will be your answers. If we're giving pi up to 3 pi on 2, this would have been your what? Your answers. So take note of it carefully. Okay, so here's the end of our ninth question. So the name is at Made Easy V3J. So please kindly hit the subscribe button for more exciting videos. So for more exciting videos, so hit the subscribe button for more exciting videos. Okay, so thank